And now we come to the 20th century, which was 1900 to 1999. We will study the music from 1900 to the present. The 20th century brought unprecedented developments. Violence and progress are hallmarks. There is rapid change in technology. That can be good and bad. In the early part of the 20th century, that rapid change causes stress and leads to an artistic intellectual movement called modernism. But as we know, rapid change in technology has benefits. For instance, there is the eradication of some diseases. In music, the first 13 years brought radical changes. It was seen as a time of revolt and revolution in music. Composers broke with tradition and rules. Key, pitch center, and harmonic progression practices of the past were mostly abandoned. The following are the characteristics of 20th century music. In tone color, we have unusual playing techniques for sound effects. Percussion use was greatly expanded. And we have new instruments. Composers write for timbre-specific tone colors or groups of soloists. In harmony, we have both consonance and dissonance, and especially we have the liberation of dissonance after 1900. We have new chord structures. We have polychords. We have polytonality. That's more than one tonality at the same time. We have atonality, which means there's no do, no home plate. And in rhythm, or tempo, we have irregular rhythms. We have meter changes. We have polyrhythms, or two rhythms going at one time. Rubato is completely gone. Some new compositions ignore rhythmic notation and specify sound in seconds and minutes. In melody, we have unbalanced phrases, and they're not always singable. With texture, we have both homophonic and polyphonic. For form, traditional forms are giving way to new ideas. Some music unfolds without obvious form devices. Our first composer is Claude Debussy. A Frenchman, he was a bridge between the Romantic period and the 20th century. We'll dig deeper into that bridge during class. He was known for new tone colors, a lighter sonority, very subtle, mysterious shades of sound. He uses the orchestra like a palette. There are new, rich harmonies. He drowns tonality. He uses pentatonic and whole tone scales. Penta, of course, meaning 5, so we have a 5-note scale. There was an Asian influence in his music. His music obscures rhythm and tempo. It goes beyond the traditional melody. On to Igor Stravinsky, our next composer. Consider him the rhythm revolutionary because of his use of shifting meters and irregular rhythms. He has a hard-edged style. It sounds very abstract. His most famous work, The Rite of Spring, was a ballet that caused quite a stir when it premiered. Arnold Schoenberg is our harmony revolutionary. He was the father of the 12-tone system. That's an arrangement of the 12 notes of the chromatic scale into fixed patterns. And these patterns were manipulated via mathematical operations. We'll look at a matrix. That's a compositional tool used in 12-tone music further in class. Schoenberg also developed Sprechstimme, which means speak voice in German. It's a song speech style. Aaron Copland, an American composer, was influenced by Stravinsky, but forged his own style. He drew from American folklore for topics. His most famous work was Appalachian Spring. That's a ballet. And then we move to chance music, which is also known as aleatory music. It is the opposite of serialism because the 12-tone row is very mathematical. It is not by chance. In chance music, composers choose pitches, tone colors, and rhythms by random methods such as a coin toss, but leave it up to the performers when it is actually performed. A genre within 20th century music is electronic music, which was a new development in the 20th century. It uses technological advances for new music. It provides an unlimited palette of sounds and tone colors, and it allows composers to skip the middle step of performers to convey their ideas to an audience. There is use of recording tape, synthesizers, and computers in electronic music. Edgard Varèse was our electronic music revolutionary. He expanded the vocabulary of new sounds. He pioneered electronic music in the 1950s. Poème électronique is his most famous work. This is another new way to produce music. And another new way to produce music is musique concrète, called concrete music. It utilizes pre-recorded sounds from real life, like traffic noises or the sound of a baby, natural sounds that are altered in the recording process. John Lennon of the Beatles experimented with musique concrète in his piece Revolution 9 in 1968. And of course, computer music can be produced on home computers using sequencer software to record, edit, and reproduce digital sounds. Another genre within 20th century music is minimalism. It was introduced in the 20th century. With minimalism, there is a steady pulse, clear tonality, and repetition of short melodic fragments. The dynamics, the texture, and the harmony are constant over time. There is emphasis on simple forms, clarity, and understatement. Philip Glass is an American minimalist composer. He deals in simple melodies, motives, and harmonies, repeated many, many, many times. He describes himself as a composer of repetitive structures. Our last two composers are Libby Larsen and Eric Whitacre. Libby is another American composer who uses traditional instruments along with electronic music. And Eric Whitacre is also an American composer who writes mostly choral music. He is known for his cluster chord, which we'll listen to and look at in class. He has also written music theater works and music for the virtual choir.